So it's my pleasure to introduce Crystal Charley, President of the Southern Burlington County NAACP.
Good afternoon, everyone. Well, as I go forward, I want you to be well aware that this will require some participation, and I can tell that there will be no problem with that request. The NAACP, why do we say no to Kavanaugh? Brett Kavanaugh is the product of a corrupt process. He was selected from Trump's short list of Supreme Court candidates developed by radical right-wing groups with a litmus test on issues such as choice and civil rights. Kavanaugh's record reveals a hardcore ideologue who will not protect civil rights and civil liberties and who has been auditioning for a Supreme Court seat during his entire tenure on the D.C. Circuit. Say no to Kavanaugh. Right. Brett Kavanaugh, he is an illegitimate nominee. On August 21st, President Donald Trump was named as an unindicted co-conspirator in federal crimes involving his own election. Kavanaugh's nomination is tainted and must be considered illegitimate. In calling for a halt to the confirmation process, our NAACP National President, Derek Johnson, is quoted as saying, "The Senate owes it to the American people to see how these legal proceedings play out before even considering whether to confirm a SCOTUS nominee selected by a president linked to federal crimes." This is especially true with a nominee like Brett Kavanaugh, who believes the president is immune from federal investigation. Say no. No! Brett Kavanaugh's records are missing. The Senate has a constitutional duty to rigorously and thoroughly review a Supreme Court nominee. But the White House has refused to produce millions of records from Kavanaugh's work at the highest level of the George W. Bush administration, when he was at the center of political and policy decisions, including civil rights, torture, and warrantless wiretapping. Kavanaugh has acknowledged that this period has shaped his views of the executive branch and influenced his perspective as a judge. It is the opinion and the position of the NAACP that a hearing without full, complete, and comprehensive disclosure of his record strikes a devastating blow to the integrity of the confirmation process. Say no! There we go. Right. Brett Kavanaugh is hostile to affirmative action. He is a threat to fair housing. He favors restricted participation to the wealthy and powerful. With Kavanaugh, voting rights can be further eroded. Say no. No! Brett Kavanaugh poses a severe threat to the reproductive rights of women, limiting access to contraception, and putting Roe versus Wade in jeopardy. His presence on Trump's shortlist confirmed his willingness to overturn Roe v. Wade. The vehemently pro-life Susan B. Anthony List organization praised Kavanaugh as an outstanding choice and principled jurist with a strong record of protecting life and constitutional rights. No! With Kavanaugh providing a fifth vote, the court could overturn Roe outright or uphold abortion restrictions on the ground they pose no undue burden. These decisions would have a tremendous impact on low-income women of color who lack unfettered reproductive choices. We stand in solidarity with Planned Parenthood. New Jersey must support women's rights and health by supporting full access to all reproductive health care, including abortion and contraception. Lastly, Brett Kavanaugh is a foe to the Affordable Care Act. Judge Kavanaugh poses a threat to ensuring access to health care regardless of pre-existing conditions and to a minimal level of health care for everyone. Both are tremendously important for communities of color who face long-standing and systematic barriers to quality health care. Significantly, Kavanaugh dissented in the D.C. Circuit's ruling upholding the constitutionality of the Affordable Care Act, Stephen Sky v. Holder. He said the court lacked jurisdiction to rule on the individual mandate because the tax penalty would have to be assessed. Alarmingly, he stated, "Under the Constitution, the President may decline to enforce a statute that regulates private individuals when the President deems the statute unconstitutional, even if a court has held or would hold that statute to be constitutional." Several challenges to the Affordable Care Act are currently percolating in the lower courts. Kavanaugh may soon have an opportunity to strike a devastating blow to health care protections for all. Say no? No! As I come to a close, I have two quotes from Angela Davis, former political prisoner, feminist, prison abolitionist, scholar, and activist. The first quote: "The work of the political activist inevitably involves a certain tension between the requirement that the position be taken on current issues as they arise and the desire that one's contributions will somehow survive the ravages of time." The second: "You have to act as if it were possible to radically transform the world, and you have to do it all the time." Well, my friends, these are the ravages of time, and it is time to act radically. Say no, no to Brett Kavanaugh. Thank you very much.